With the big telephone company, for caller ID, call blocking, call forwarding, call waiting, and three-way calling, you can end up paying almost $50 a month for all that. But with Rev Voice, you get all those features for free.
A sex video featuring a former cop at the center of a child porn case shown in court today. After reviewing NHI legislation, Dwayne Sands calls it an abomination. Hundreds left with no running water this morning, plus carnival marketing underway in Washington, D.C. We've got those stories and a lot more coming up tonight. I'm Kyle Joaquin, and ND12 starts now. Witness in the child pornography trial of former police constable Edmund Lewis Jr. today appeared shaken and ashamed as a graphic sex video was played in court. The young woman admitted that it was indeed her seen in the video, but that she doesn't remember who shot it. Giorgio Bain was in court today and has the details.
The first alleged victim took the stand today in the magistrate's court to testify against Edmund Lewis Jr., who she claimed recorded her having sexual intercourse unknowingly. As the video played in open court today, the victim could be seen visibly shaking and nodding her head in embarrassment. Lewis was present in court today before Deputy Chief Magistrate Andrew Forbes to answer to allegations of producing child pornography. On the stand, one of the alleged victims, who is currently 18 but was 17 at the time the videos were recorded, admitted that she appears in 2 of the videos, and though she could not recall exactly what she told police in her complaint against Lewis in January of 2015, she claims that she was recorded unknowingly. When questioned what she was recorded doing, the teenager responded having consensual sex at Lewis's residence. After clearing the court, the prosecution played the sex video, during which time the victim identified herself and Lewis as participants. The teen was then seen shaking and hanging her head as the court watched the scene. When cross-examined by Wayne Monroe, who represents Lewis, the teen was asked whether that was the video shown to police on the day her statement was given, a question to which she responded no, as Monroe reminded her that the video she had shown police had included herself, another female, as well as Lewis. The teen then continued by saying she was not in possession of any video of just herself and Lewis having sex, but she did have a video of herself, another female, and Lewis having sex together on a separate occasion. When asked how that video came about, she said that Lewis picked her up between classes at a local high school with another female who she claimed she had just met a few days ago on Facebook in the car. She said Lewis then drove both of them to his house and proceeded to have sex with them both. The teen said once they got to Lewis's house, she drank 3 glasses of wine that she poured from the bottle that Lewis had provided. She said that she then became lightheaded, reportedly because she did not have any breakfast that morning. Monroe asked the teen how she could be sure who was responsible for the recording if she was tipsy and lightheaded. Monroe also pointed out that according to the statement, there were at least 2 other people in the room on the day in question. So how could she be sure that Lewis was responsible for the recording? To which she replied, "I have no idea who was recording." Monroe also asked the teen to state when the sexual encounters took place, and she responded that she could not remember the exact dates. When asked how many times she had sexual encounters with the accused, the teen responded, "Countless times." But as for the events in question, she thinks that they occurred sometime in the summer of 2014, sometime near the end of June and the beginning of July. Monroe stated to Magistrate Forbes that according to the dates given by the teen, the charges fall outside the statute of limitations, as the law only provides 6 months to report a case of this nature. Darrell Taylor, who represents the teen, objected, stating that the amended laws allows this case to continue. Magistrate Forbes will make a ruling into how the case will continue when the court meets next. The case was adjourned, and the second alleged victim is slated to take the stand when the case resumes on March 3rd. It is alleged that Lewis produced child pornography videos between July 2014 and January of 2015. Reporting for NB12, I'm Georgie Bain.
Well, hundreds of water and sewage customers were left without running water this morning, all the result of a major failure on the company's 21-inch water transmission main on Roberta Avenue. In a press statement sent out today, the corporation said that this was the second failure and occurred just as teams were trying to fix the initial problem. Well, the issue, as you can imagine, was no doubt a headache for people in various parts of New Providence who woke up to no water. We're talking parents preparing themselves for work and their children for the school day. The corporation advised its customers and the public that the replacement of the existing 21-inch transmission main on Roberta Avenue commenced earlier this month and won't be completed till late March. The Water and Sewage Corporation has recently launched a campaign encouraging people to begin using their services once again.
So, the Water and Sewage Corporation you thought you knew has pumped up our efforts
and wants you to come back.
We're waiting for you to sign up today.
According to the corporation, all areas were said to be up and running by noon. The Christie administration's National Health Insurance Scheme is an abomination, according to noted surgeon and former F&M Senator Dr. Dwayne Sands, who said today he's not going to pretend that what he's seen so far is workable. He said there's been no debate on NHI and stakeholders have only been shut up and marginalized. Dana Smith reports.
Sands said although there's been a softening of the rhetoric and discussion surrounding NHI, he charged that government has been dismissing and vilifying stakeholders.
The challenge with the so-called debate on NHI is there has been no debate. And so all of the important stakeholders have been vilified, they've been ostracized, they've been shut up, they've been marginalized. I happen to be one of them. I'm standing next to one who almost got deported. He still might be.
Sands spoke at the Bahamas Insurance Brokers Association's panel discussion on NHI, telling a room full of insurance brokers and related professionals what the Christie administration has presented so far on NHI is an abomination, and although he's hoping for a reasonable NHI program, he's not going to pretend that anything workable will come about over the coming months.
Even though I support national health insurance, I believe that what has been presented can only be considered an abomination. It is a shameful disgrace that we have arrived at this point by dismissing the insurance industry, by dismissing the physicians, by dismissing many of the stakeholders. And we can do better than this. I am hoping that we get a reasonable NHI program. I don't believe it's going to happen within the next 3 to 6 months, at least nothing that is a workable program. I remain committed to participate as a patriotic Bahamian who is duty-bound to give my honest opinion to my government. I have loyalty to no other country but this, but I am not going to pretend that what I see is workable. The emperor is wearing no clothes.
As the country moves closer to government's planned April launch of primary care services, there have been questions about whether that deadline will be met. Chief Medical Officer Dr. DeLon Brennan said yesterday he does not expect any delays at present. This after the Prime Minister said he and Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez should not have spoken out about the possibility of a delay without a policy decision on the matter. Brennan had initially said a delay is definitely possible. Sands said he's not surprised Brennan changed his language on a possible NHI delay, given he was publicly rebuked by the Prime Minister.
Dr. Brennan was rebuked publicly by the Prime Minister. He was in good company with the Minister of Health and also a certain cardiothoracic surgeon that all got publicly rebuked at about the same time. So I'm not surprised that he has changed the language based on the authority granted to him as a civil servant. If you're authorized to say a particular thing, then I think you should say that thing as long as your conscience doesn't force you to say otherwise.
Sands added, however, while he and Brennan may not see eye to eye on many aspects of NHI, Brennan has single-handedly brought clarity and transparency to what Sands called a muddled affair. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
Amid concerns that government's March 2nd deadline for stakeholder recommendations on the draft NHI legislation may be too short, President of the Medical Association of the Bahamas, Dr. Wesley Francis, said he's sure government isn't going to just abide by a simple timeline and will give stakeholders ample time to provide input.
I don't think that it's ever going to be a good timeline per se, and I think introducing a timeline is going to cause a lot of controversy. I would say that we did have some input already into the process. We did meet with the Secretariat even before it was released. I think we need to have more input into it. And I'm sure that they're going to take our inputs, and we won't abide by just a simple timeline.
Francis's comments come after President of the Bahamas Insurance Association, Emmanuel Kamalafi, said the time period government has given stakeholders to review the draft legislation is simply insufficient and unreasonable. Last month, Francis had voiced concerns about lack of adequate and consistent consultations with physicians over NHI. Asked about that today, he said things have gotten better and government has sat down with the Medical Association to hash out their concerns.
I think that there's a willingness to cooperate. I think that the government has shown that, and we did have a meeting shortly thereafter, all of the issues in the press, where we had a good meeting. We sat down and hashed out some real issues. So I would say yes, and that there is a spirit of cooperation.
And amid questions about whether NHI should be delayed or not, Francis said that's ultimately up to the government, but he believes there's a need for more discussions on the topic.
I think that's in the purview of the government. They understand what issues that they have, and if they choose to delay it, then that's up to them.
Do you think it should be delayed?
I think we should continue to have stakeholder discussions to try and hash out the best plan for the Bahamian people.
What does that mean?
That means that we need to continue to talk, and we need to continue to plan, and we need to have a roadmap as to where we're going to end up. That's what I believe.
You're watching the best in Bahamian news. There is more when NB12 returns.